In 2016, I joined SacRT team, and now in my 7th year as its CEO, by working collaboratively and effectively with my board, staff, community partners, and unions, we truly have achieved historical transformation with amazing performance or results.
This is Transit Unplugged. I'm Paul Comfort. Good to be with you on another edition of the world's leading transit executive podcast, Transit Unplugged In Depth, this week with Henry Lee, the Chief Executive Officer and General Manager of the Sacramento Regional Transit District, also known as SacRT, in California's capital city. On today's episode, Henry discusses the historic turnaround at his agency, leading it to be honored as APTA's Transit System of the Year for 2021. Henry also previews the upcoming sales tax ballot measure, which, if passed, will add billions to their budget. He talks about their light rail modernization program, how they have funded the Students Ride Free program, their contactless credit card pilot, bus optimization, and ridership recovery, plus look at his unique personal story. All that on this episode of Transit Unplugged In Depth. This is Transit Unplugged this week with my friend Henry Lee, Chief Executive Officer and General Manager of Sacramento Regional Transit District, or SacRT, in the capital of America's largest state, California. Henry, thanks so much for being a guest today on Transit Unplugged.
Thank you, Paul. This is wonderful to join you today.
Yes, Henry and I have been trying to put this interview together for a couple of years, so glad we finally got it. And I heard you had great news just recently. You've been there for many years. Why don't you tell us what happened? And your board just moved your contract forward again, right?
Yes, sir. About 3 years ago, my board changed my contract to open-ended contract. Means every year my contract automatically extend for 3 more years. So my board just had a meeting last night, and then that means my contract now automatically extend for the another 3 years. And also, this is my 7th year as CEO of Sacramento Regional Transit, and now I secured about 10 years my employment with this wonderful community.
That's wonderful, Henry. I'm really happy for you. And it's obvious why they did that, because the work you're doing there at what's commonly known as SacRT is phenomenal. Tell us some about the transit system itself. Kind of give us a scope of what it is and the size and those kind of things.
Yes, we are the largest regional transit provider in the 6-county capital region of California. We operate over 82 bus routes, 43 miles of light rail system with 53 stations, ADA paratransit services, and one of the largest microtransit services in the nation. Just to give you a little bit of perspective, over the last 6 years, SacRT has been a true model of success, rising from financial instability, poor service, and the lack of trust from community in 2016 when I took the CEO position, to making a significant historical transformation in just a few years. We implemented sweeping rideship building initiatives. We united the region and a shared vision. We regained the solid trust and respect from the community, and we advanced $3 billion capital expansion and the state of good repair program, and created a comprehensive and coordinated regional transportation network, and made 180-degree turnaround, culminating with a multitude of local, state, and national top awards, including APTA's 2019 Best CEO of the Year and APTA 2021 last year Best Transit System of the Year awards. And in addition, we feel very proud that we received the Sacramento Taxpayers Association's Outstanding Governance Award for defending taxpayers' funds, which is extremely difficult to receive an award from a community partner who normally is very critical to public agencies across the nation. And we're governed by a 15-member board of directors consisting of elected officials from all Sacramento jurisdiction partners. We have such a strong board of directors who cares passionately about the community and allows us to be extremely innovative. SacRT is a strong advocate for safe, equitable, and inclusive workplace. We employ over 1,500 staff and relentlessly champion diversity, equity, and inclusion. As a result, we exceed our racial, gender, and pay equity goals and other EEO goals. For example, the average pay for female employees actually is higher, slightly higher than male employees. That is very difficult to achieve that goal. And then our annual budget, operating budget, is about $231 million with a capital budget of about $270 million. So total about $500 million annual budget for FY 2023. And we have been able to add new services and lower fares and significantly increase our financial reserves. So I'll stop here.
Okay. That's a great description of the service. Thank you for that. I'm interested in two things that you said I'd like to follow up on a little bit. You mentioned that you have one of the most expansive microtransit projects in the nation, and that, of course, is a hot topic. I'll actually be speaking on that at the APTA Tech Conference with some other chief innovation officers. Can you tell us anything about that microtransit service, maybe a little bit more about it, how it operates, and what the results have been?
In 2018, we start to reimagine and redesign our entire bus network. When we did comprehensive operational analysis, we found out that there's some transit deserts in our 404 square miles, the whole service areas. And our whole service area is supposed to be 1,000 square miles, but we only serve 440 square miles. And we noticed that some disadvantaged communities and populations, they severely lack the transit connections. So in 2018, we start to launch a new on-demand microtransit service. I think at that time, we were the first transit agency in the nation to offer on-demand services, microtransit services within an entire city that also connect to adjacent communities and the city too. And then since then, we expand to 9 major zones, cities, and communities throughout the entire region afterwards. We team up with a private service provider for the on-time scheduling reservation platforms, just like Uber, those type of stuff. And since then, this program has become the largest and one of the largest and among the most successful microtransit services in the nation, providing essential services to many disadvantaged communities and populations with very limited transportation means. During the pandemic time, our ridership from the microtransit service actually increased. And annually, we carried about more than 300,000 rides.
On the microtransit service?
Yeah, and the microtransit services. And since we start very early and we shared our experiences, and certainly there's some lessons we learned too. And we shared that with lots of industry peers. And now you say microtransit is a hot topic and a trend in the nation now. Yes.
Wow, that's amazing, Henry, that you had an increase in ridership and the number of riders taking a ride on that is great. You've got a future ballot measure that you were telling me about in the green room before we get started. You want to tell us about that? It sounds like you've got something great lined up.
Yeah, absolutely. But before I get into that, this topic, let me just say, today is the 32nd
That's right.
of the Americans with Disability, the landmark, civil rights law.
Yes.
And we are so proud we are able to provide the on-demand microtransit services to our communities in disadvantaged and or low-income communities, because significant percent of our riders are citizens with disability. That's why this is so important and so popular. So back to the question you just asked about the ballot measure. Sacramento is a very unique place. Compared to our peers, San Francisco, San Diego, and LA, we receive very limited local sales tax or local fundings.
Okay.
In 2016, we put a sales tax measure on the ballot. We got 66% of the votes. We were short 0.7% of the votes.
Because you have to have a 2/3 vote.
2/3.
Yeah. Wow. That was close. No cookie. Yeah.
That's true. Then we try to improve our service and gain the trust and the confidence from the community, and make sure more and more citizens will support to add more local, stable financial resources for the public transit, and also for the roadside and other transportation needs too. The community leaders in Sacramento get together about last year, try to take a very real exception from state legislation, which is citizen-led initiative, which has nothing to do with the elected officials and the public agencies. So a group of these leaders, citizens together, and prepare for the citizen-led initiative for the sales tax measure this year. One of the major hurdles is to get enough signatures. We need about 55,000 valid signatures to be qualified on the ballot. A month ago, we received close to 60,000 valid signatures. And so we're like 110% get valid signatures. This measure it's about 40 years, will generate close to $9 billion. And we get public transit got the 9 shares of this $9 billion. And then some money will go to the municipality, public works, highway, for them to use for their transportation needs. We expect we will be able to pass this with the required 50% plus 1 votes, because right now our poll shows 60% of citizens will likely to vote yes on this. So we're very excited for this initiative because this really will significantly improve our transportation network in the region and add more services for our essential needs of our community members and stakeholders. The $9 billion the local sales tax will likely to get way more than $9 billion match from the state of California, because just the last month, state of California had $95 billion surplus for last year, from last fiscal year. And $95 billion, some of billions of those money will be allocated to the statewide transportation agencies. And the majority of those money are competitive discretionary based, which requires significant local match. So this will really help us. Needless to say, the bipartisan law will provide hundreds of billions of dollars in the next 5 or 10 years. So this really will jumpstart our bright future in the transportation perspective in the region.
That's amazing. So what will the sales tax be? What percentage will you get? Because currently you're only at like 1/6 of 1 cent, right?
Yes. We're going to get more than 42% of the money. So we will get about like $3.3 billion, and likely will be $3.5 billion because the current estimate is very conservative.
Gotcha. And that'll be on this November's ballot?
Yes.
Very good. And I know you've got a big capital program in place with a light rail modernization program and zero emission vehicles coming. Tell us about some of the big projects you have on the books.
So in 2018, we launched a light rail modernization program, try to bring our stations, facilities, and the fleet into a state of good repair. Our light rail system started about 32 years ago. We never really put money into the state of good repair in the last 30 years because, like you said, we already received 1/6 of 1 penny sales tax from the local, perspective, and we did not put money for the state of good repair. So we were desperately to need some funding to start that. But when we start that program, we have been very successful in securing over $500 million in the state and federal grants, discretionary of grants, 3 times more than expected, just in the last couple of years. And like I said, when we start this plan and this very bold initiative 5 years ago, we never dreamed we will be able to secure 3 times more grants fundings in such short period of time, which is really because the great performance we have provided to the community that convinced the grants agencies from state and federal government to try to help us. And the light rail system is a backbone of our public transportation system in the whole region. We have received funding for of 44 new state-of-the-art, spacious, low-floor, more accessible new light rail cars, which actually are being built by Siemens in Sacramento. That is a great way to boost the local economic development. California has very stringent mandate in terms of electric vehicle or electric buses conversion. Our board has approved a zero-emission bus conversion plan to transition SacRT's fleet to 100% zero emission by 2040, including more than 600 vehicles. We jump-started the fleet conversion in 2018. We secured approximately $20 million in funding from private partner called Electrify America. And there's a lot of stories behind that, and we don't have time to talk about that. But we get about $20 million from the private partner for 12 zero-emission electric buses and charging infrastructure. Now we are partnering with a private investor to build likely the largest charging hub in the nation in one of our light rail stations. That hub will have up to 100 charging bunks. And as a matter of fact, this private investor is proposing to build about 100 charging hubs around our light rail stations and bus hubs to serve not just SacRT's needs in the future, but also public's demand. And we do not have to pay a dime for the construction cost. We will get some royalty fee from using our surplus properties. So we are well on the way to convert our more than 600 vehicles to zero emission by 2040. And then we have some other exciting capital projects too, and we can talk in the future.
Okay, that sounds good. Hey, I wanted to ask you about ridership. You've got basically today we've outlined you've got a great system serving the capital of California. You've got potential new funding coming in. You've got a lot of capital projects. Let's talk about the riders and the people who are riding now. I know you're back to providing 100% of the service that you had pre-pandemic, but how are you looking as a percentage of ridership here at the end of July of 2022 as compared to pre-COVID ridership in light rail and bus?
So our current ridership is in a steady growth pace.
Okay.
And now our bus ridership is over 60%, 60% of the pre-pandemic level. Our light rail ridership is close to 45%. The reason our light rail ridership is not growing as fast as bus is because majority of our riders are commuter riders.
Yes.
And majority of those commuter riders are state workers. We have about 100,000 state workers, and our state has been very strict in terms of COVID requirements. So super majority of state workers have not come back to work in the downtown areas yet. So that average give us about 53% of the pre-pandemic ridership. And we have implemented lots of innovative initiatives in the past several years, such as I just mentioned our on-demand microtransit service. Our students ride free program is very successful. If you have time, I can briefly share some details with you.
That's good. Yeah. I know that you're one of the cities in the country that provides school transportation like I used to in Baltimore. Tell us a little bit about that and about your optimization and contactless fare card program, some of the great initiatives you've done.
Yes. So in 2019, SacRT was the first transit agency probably in the nation to implement a system-wide fare-free program for students or youth in grades K through 12, certainly foster kids or homeless youth. All those students will be fare-free. The program really removes the barrier to success for students by providing transportation to and after-school activities and creating lifelong transit riders. We start from a request from school districts because we do not provide the school buses in our school districts. And as a result of that, our school district superintendents, they reach out to me, tell me that, Henry, they have about 15% of students normally are absent because of lack of transportation means. Their parents either don't have time to drive them to school, whatever. I mean, as a result of that, 15% of the absenteeism result in 15% of the federal or state formula-based funding reduction as a huge blow to the school districts. So we worked with school districts and the elected officials in those municipalities. And we developed an agreement for the municipalities, the governments, and the school districts to pay a fixed amount of the fares and for us to provide a free service for all about 230,000 youth or students. And this has been so successful. In May 2022, we had over 300,000 students rode with us within that month. And we received strong financial support from all SacRT jurisdiction partners to continue the program in the fourth year now. Since last month is our fourth year beginning. And the beauty of this program, students without pay, SacRT will still get the fare revenue. And then students' ridership accounts for about 20% of our total ridership now. And in the meantime, we have another 20% of ridership come from the low-income citizens, but they get fully paid by the Department of Home Services. So we get 20% of free students to ride with us, and we get 20% of our ridership at low-income customers. They get their fares get paid from the DHS. Yes. So we get a 40% of ridership are actually ride free, but the transit agency gets the paid from them.
Right.
That is just so great to promote greater access and equity.
Yes. And tell us about the contactless fare payment program you've got with Visa cards and other devices. I know you were the first public agency in the state of California to have contactless fare payment on light rail trains. Tell us about how that's worked. Has there been an uptick in the percentage of people that have done that? I know when I was in London maybe 5 years ago, they had just implemented it and it was received tremendously. Within 6 months, 40% of the people riding in TfL were using it. So how is it working there?
So we just implemented it. The reason we did this, California State of Transportation Agency, they have been very innovative and very taking the leadership role in terms of to make sure the whole state of California, about more than 100 public agencies, we have a universal fare payment system. And so they start to work with a whole bunch of private partners like Visa and other companies. So customers can use a Visa card or mobile phone to pay in all transit agencies in the state of California. And then they teamed up with us to have a pilot program in our library system. And the private investors put the devices in all of our 97 library vehicles early this year. And then we start testing. But we only select like 1,000 customers to do the pilot.
Okay.
And like 6% of our customers. And that has been working extremely well. And as a result, just last week, the Caltrain and the STA award us additional money to the touchless payment devices aboard all of our buses. That's really just you go to grocery stores, use your attach the platform, and you get charged.
That's great.
Any of your transit agencies in the state of California. So we're the first pilot agency.
Yes.
And we're very happy to team up state agency, transportation agency on this initiative.
That's very
And
innovative.
you talk about the bus network optimization. And in the middle of 2019, we implemented a complete redesign or reimagining of the entire bus system. And that reflects new travel patterns and future economic development. And as well as to promote greater access and equity for the region. And when we implemented this, we immediately saw about 9% increase in ridership prior to pandemic. And with the students ride free, with on-demand microtransit service, with our aggressive TOD program, and we got like a 15% ridership increase right before the pandemic started. And unfortunately, COVID hit us all.
Right. There's so many things you've got going on there. I know we could talk for probably another 30 minutes about them, but we are getting close to running out of time. But I wanted to talk about your personal career story a little bit, Henry. I know you've had quite a career, and I wanted to give you an opportunity to talk some about your background.
Yes. My background probably is slightly different from many of my peers. I completed my master's in China in later 1980s. After I get my master's degree, I start to work for a couple international companies in China, and I learned a great deal of the business practices and skills. Then at that time, United States of America is the dream place for all, for many business, the people who just enter into business. So I come to US in the middle of 1990 and get my MBA in Georgia Southern. And then I start my career with a great agency, Marta, in Atlanta, Georgia, where I managed nearly $1 billion operating and capital budget, and also led operational efficiency improvement program system-wide, and also worked closely with all stakeholders and peers to streamline our business processes and provide customer-centric solutions to provide highest possible quality of service to the customers and the communities. Then about 7.5 years later, I moved on to work for several dynamic transportation agencies across the country, including San Francisco Muni, by taking more leadership responsibilities to promote equitable service, advance large capital projects, and enhance the mobility networks to better serve each community. So right before SacRT, I served as a senior executive at the Jacksonville Transportation Authority, led by industry leader Led Ford. And you interviewed him twice. And I hope sometime I have the honor to interview with you twice. So at JTA, we completely redesigned our bus network too, which result in better customer experience and higher ridership. We also built and construct about 5 major BRT lines in the entire region. As a result, we transformed this JTA from a mediocre agency start from 2012 to an award-winning agency won the APTA 2016 Best System of the Year award, and by closely working with many colleagues and also working with led leadership. In 2016, I joined SacRT team, and now in my 7th year as its CEO, by working collaboratively and effectively with my board, staff, community partners, and unions, we truly have achieved historical transformation with amazing performance or results.
That's wonderful, Henry. What a great career story, working with some of the icons in the industry and now ending up leading one of our most iconic cities in the nation, Sacramento, leading their transit system. Thank you so much for being our guest today, Henry, on the show. It's been a great kind of overview of what you're doing, your big projects, your upcoming funding. We wish you all the great success as you continue, now that your contract's been renewed for another 3 years, as you continue to lead this important transit system in the capital city of California.
Thank you, Paul. It's a pleasure.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Transit Unplugged in depth with our guest, Henry Lee, CEO of the Sacramento Regional Transit District. And next week on Transit Unplugged News and Views, we have April Ray, CEO of the Conference of Minority Transit Officials, or COMTO. Don't forget to head over to transitunplugged.com and sign up for our newsletter so you're always in the loop with everything that's going on in the show. And if you'd like to reach us, have a comment, question, or would like to be a guest on Transit Unplugged, feel free to email us anytime at info@transitunplugged.com. So until next week, ride safe and ride happy.